Hello there. Brussels believes that the UK is weak and that if they string out the talks long enough, then the UK will do a Theresa May Remainer style cave-in at the last moment. Firstly, please subscribe and like this video to give my channel a boost, and I'm always uploading new content, so please do check back daily. It appears that the EU is completely stonewalling anything that the UK tables for discussion at these Brexit trade negotiations, and just ploughs on with its own demands regardless. This has led the UK negotiators to think that the EU just wants to stall the talks until the autumn, when they expect the UK to then meekly roll over and sign any old rubbish that their chief Brexit negotiator Michel Barnier presents us with. So one would assume that the next round of talks taking place this coming week will be a total waste of time, with yet more recriminations on both sides about a lack of progress. There are now only 30 days to go until the 30th of June, which is technically the last day on which an extension to the Brexit talks can be agreed between the UK and EU at the Joint Committee. And as there is UK statute law prohibiting the UK side from agreeing to an extension, then one assumes that will not happen, unless Boris decides he wants to destroy his party and U-turns on it. I know there's a bill going through Parliament right now to order an extension, but it is a Lib Dem backbench bill that will almost certainly be rejected by the Boris Johnson 80-seat majority, if and when it next sees the light of day in Parliament. I talked about this in my Brexit Extension Alert video. And without an extension, the Telegraph is reporting that a deal needs to be fully agreed and ready to go by the 26th of November to enable the EU Parliament to vote on it and have it ratified by the end of the year. That's less than 6 months away, and we'll need a lot of heavy lifting to be done on shifting EU policy well before October. Otherwise, business on both sides will not have time to properly prepare. That tells me that if we get to October with no movement from the EU, then it has to be no deal, so that business knows exactly what it's facing. And we must not extend the talks into next year, because we cannot afford to get locked into the next EU multi-annual financial framework budget starting in 2021. Nor can we afford to get locked into a stifling EU legal mire that would prevent us from reconfiguring the UK economy for post-COVID operations. The Sun reports that one UK source close to the negotiations said, "We expect the next round to be constructive and keep the process on track. But then we're going to need things to move forward faster. We recognise the EU have other important issues on their plate too, as we all do, but they can't just mark time on these talks. The EU seems to have finally understood we aren't going to move on fundamentals, so they now need to think quickly about how they can find an agreement that reflects reality." While the Telegraph says that it is understood that the letter sent by the UK chief negotiator David Frost on May the 19th to Michel Barnier, saying that the UK found it perplexing that we were not being offered a deal like Japan or Canada, has stung some in the EU into realising how risky it is for them if Brussels keeps stalling. Please see my video UK Trade Negotiators Lay Down the Brexit Law for more on that one. And a senior UK government spokesperson said, "What is clear is that the conventional approach will not get us much further. The EU needs to inject some political reality into its approach and appreciate that they cannot use their usual tactic of delay to drag the talks into the autumn. October is too late. Our businesses need to know whether there is going to be a trade agreement before then to prepare for the end of transition." But also writing in the Telegraph, former Tory MEP Daniel Hannan says that we are stumbling towards a no deal basically because the EU has locked itself into a position that was designed not to get the best result for its 27 members, but to stop Brexit. But now that they've been unable to stop Brexit, instead of trying to make it work, Hannan says they're intent on making it not work. He also says something that I was talking about yesterday in a video called Eurozone Heading for Dangerous Deflation, where I said that the EU would need unfettered access to the City of London financial system to help it through the COVID pandemic economic fallout. On this, Hannan says, "We keep being told, for example, that British banks and investment services might lose their unhindered access to continental consumers. But this is the kind of mercantilist thinking that causes self-inflicted poverty, to the extent that if the EU imposed barriers in financial services, it would be denying its companies access to the world's best and cheapest money markets precisely when they need to recapitalise." Glad I'm not alone in my thinking on that one. And Hannan ends his piece by saying that in the face of a huge economic slump, Brussels seems more intent on punishing the UK than looking after the future financial well-being of its citizens. And people wonder why we left, he says. Now, the most totemic of the issues within the negotiations, and the one that has the most talk of irresistible forces and immovable objects attached to it, is that of fisheries, where the UK wants to take back full control and decide who can fish and how much they can catch on an annual basis. But the EU wants to go on as before. The EU is demanding that the UK gives up control of its own economic exclusion zone so that the EU fishing vessels can continue to hoover our seas clean of fish forevermore. Now, some people say that the UK shouldn't worry about fisheries as it's such a small part of our whole economy. But you have to wonder why the EU is fighting tooth and nail for the status quo then, don't you? However, the Express reports that a French MEP revealed the panic gripping Brussels as he warned that Britain's fisheries proposals would be devastating to the EU. Francois-Xavier Bellamy made the remarks following suggestions that the EU was willing to shift its stance on fisheries in negotiations with Britain next week. Mr Bellamy told the European People's Party bloc this week that fisheries was not just a detail in the Brexit deal but a decisive issue. And it quotes Mr Bellamy as saying, "We do not want an agreement with the UK if there is not a fisheries agreement which allows in the long term a balanced and stable way to continue to share reciprocal access to waters and resources. What we must have in this agreement is the guarantee that European fishermen will be able to continue to access the British waters. Today, it is in these waters that about 40% of European fishing is carried out. And so, if we could no longer access these waters and resources, it would obviously be a considerable loss for European fishing." And he also said that 250,000 jobs were reliant on fishing across the European Union. And former Brexit Party MEP June Mummery claims that once we get back control of our waters, we will find they are worth a lot more than we think. She says that the only reason we think it's of little importance is because we gave it away to be part of the EU in the first place. At the end of the day, once we take back control, the projected GDP then will be £6.6 billion to our economy, and that is without all the other jobs that go alongside fishing, she said. As she says, that £6.6 billion is just at sea, meaning the whole fishing enterprise could be worth a lot more to us, because the economy would need to start building fishing boats, for example, as well as having a much larger onshore infrastructure. And think of all the goods and services that will be supported down the line, including such things as insurance and business finance. But not only that, we can then build a fishing fleet that is essentially smaller in size than the EU fleet that has overfished our waters for decades. So we build a nicely sized and profitable UK fishing industry that is also fully sustainable in the long term. What's not to like? Oh, and Boris had better not cave in. Anyway, if you want to hear more from me, please don't forget to subscribe and also press that little bell, or you won't get any notifications. And if you want to see more of me, buy a mug with my mug on it. So what are your thoughts about the EU thinking we're weak-willed on Brexit? Please share and comment, and thank you for watching.